When I look back to what we have achieved, it is quite a lot. But we set the targets, and when the Millennium Development Goals were agreed in the UN General Assembly, I reminded the prime ministers and the presidents who were in the room that this agreement, the adoption of the Millennium Development Goals with a target date of 2015 is yours.
I think you may know that this is not the first time I've had the pleasure and the privilege of speaking to JCI. In fact, our relationship goes back a very long time, at least a decade. Since the time when I was Assistant Secretary General in the United Nations, and a young man named Edson Kodama sought a meeting in my office and came to talk about what JCI might do to activate its standing as a United Nations accredited NGO. It was about to lose that accreditation because there had been no discernible activity in a long time. And we talked about some possibilities, and Edson went away, and about 3 months later I heard from him again, and JCI's partnership with the United Nations was off and running, and it hasn't stopped since. I'm grateful.
Often I'm asked the question, what should we young people do to become good global citizens? And I always tell them, begin in your community, begin at your university, begin in your own little town. If you see something wrong that you want to do something about, organize yourself with friends and take it on. It doesn't have to be something very big.
I'm delighted to be here, to be at the World Headquarters of JCI. United Nations and JCI share a long history of partnership at many levels, from headquarters to the grassroots. In fact, we are natural allies. This is like a small United Nations. And in fact, your emblem looks like almost the United Nations emblem. And I'm very much impressed, and it's a great pleasure to meet with you in this very beautiful city of Chesterfield and this World Headquarters. I'm just really counting on your strong commitment. When you have a will, you have a commitment, then I'm sure there will be a way to mobilize resources. Let's work together. We are natural allies. We are united by a shared objectives. And I hope my visit here can help deepen our ties.
Reception. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored to be here tonight. In fact, I made every effort to be here tonight on time because I just flew back from Geneva. And I cannot fail in my mission because my close friend Edson told me to do this. And also, Secretary General Ban KiMoon asked me to convey his personal message to you tonight. I bring a message from the Secretary General of the United Nations. He asked me to convey his sincerest appreciation for your valuable work and your commitment to the cause of the UN and the international community. And particularly, he asked me to convey his appreciation to Secretary General Kodama. Also, he has spoken movingly about how his father did not go to school, but encouraged all of his children to graduate college. He got more than an education from his father. He inherited a determination to devote himself to public service. And he has passed along his activism and devotion to his children. Because I know and met several times his young daughter, Naomi, who served as a Nothing But Nets campaign champion, helping to fight malaria worldwide to end deaths from malaria by 2015. And he gained a full picture of all the operations of JCI, his strength and his challenges. Then he became the Secretary General of JCI in 2004. And I understand he's the only one who serves 3 terms as the Secretary General of JCI, 1 more term than the Secretary General of the United Nations. And he has drawn on his experience to lead the organization in a very productive direction. I especially appreciate collaboration of JCI under his leadership with many important agenda of the United Nations. He has accomplished so much, and he will end his term later this year, I think, in a spirit of great achievement.
The ICC and JCI, as you know, have been working closely together for a number of years. I believe that that's intensified over the last few years, especially as we've focused more and more on trying to influence the agenda of the G20 governments. And frankly, you know, we talk a lot about the leadership of the future coming from JCI, from young entrepreneurs, but I always believe it's time to speak up now when it's appropriate and when, in fact, the advice that you help us give to these G20 governments can have an impact on the global economy. So I very much welcomed the partnership we've had renewed with ICC and JCI, and I must say that a lot of that is due to the work of Edson Kodama. Edson is an individual who not only brings energy and creativity to his job, but also a wonderful sparkling humor, which tends to make everything much more pleasant. And I think even the bad advice we might give to some governments pass a little more easily because of Edson's manner and his diplomacy. I want to say that we will all miss Edson in the next few years, but I am sure that knowing him fairly well as a friend as well as a colleague, that he will certainly show up in unexpected places and continue to play a useful role as he has over the last few years.
いずれにしても JCI っていうところが昔から関係があった国連とかその他いろいろな世界にまたがる大きな機構いろいろありますけれども、そういったこととの関係強化にも随分と力を尽くしてくれたものだと思って、我々が JCI の現役でいた頃とは全然その関係が変わってきた。それは間違いなくエジソンが作ってくれた、新しくその関係を深めてくれたものだと思って、とても感謝をしているところです。
I am privileged that I was selected. After all, I'm not the only former White House worker who is on the speaking circuit. You could have had former President Clinton for $100,000. You could have had former National Security Advisor and Secretary of State Henry Kissinger for $50,000. But JCI believes in free speech. And tonight you're getting one. Now don't get any ideas. I agreed to free speech on this occasion because of Edson Kodama. He is a good friend as well as a good man who has accomplished so much for this organization and for every organization with which he has been associated throughout his life. Some of you may know that the greatest architect in the history of England was Sir Christopher Wren, who designed St. Paul's Cathedral. And if you go into St. Paul's, on the floor is a little plaque embedded in the floor dedicated to him and with his name, and it says, "If you seek his monument, look around you." This evening, if you seek Edson Kodama's monument, look around you. Look at all these people gathered here from so many different countries, so many different walks of life. Edson Kodama has made JCI into a prominent global organization.